on Prime Crime.
He was standing in there and he had on gloves. He had one of the guns. And I was terrified. So terrified.
I know this is difficult. And that's what we're trying to help.
I'm not a monster. I had nothing to do with her disappearance.
Some of the most compelling cases hinge on what goes down in the interrogation room.
I'm just gonna ask you straight. Were you involved with Sasha Krause's homicide?
No, ma'am.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood. Down our main street.
Is she good?
No, she's dead.
Creating some truly unforgettable moments.
Why are you shutting down? Why are you not talking to me?
I don't know.
Second time I said I think I'd like to talk to an attorney.
You think you'd like to talk to an attorney, or do you want to talk to an attorney? Because I think I'd like a ham sandwich right now.
Here on Prime Crime, we have explored countless police interviews that shed light on the dynamics between suspects and law enforcement. But in today's episode, we are going to take it a step further. We are going to dive into some of the most intense and unforgettable interrogations we have ever seen. These moments reveal the psychological pressure, the strategy, the raw emotion that often unfold between a suspect and detectives. So with that in mind, let's start it off with our first case, where we have a defendant whose statements to law enforcement just defy belief. And you have two other people who say things that also leave investigators and viewers, by the way, questioning the motives, the truth, and the intent behind their words.
So, we can do this the nice way, or I can release my bipolar. I eat high school bullies for breakfast.
This is 22-year-old Russell Jones II, or RJ, or Mike, as you'll hear him referred to later. He finds himself at police headquarters out in Medford, Oregon on October 2nd, 2017.
I'm not demanding, I'm asking nicely. As a kind civilian that also knows how to manipulate cops.
As you can probably see, this is one of the more unique police interrogations. But why is RJ here? He's being interviewed along with his buddy, 19-year-old Gavin McFarland, and 15-year-old Ellie Fryer about the disappearance of Ellie's father, 50-year-old Aaron Fryer.
Is that a camera right there? I'd
Yep,
rather not have a camera aimed at me.
We have a TV that we can monitor all our interview rooms on in our detective division. So there were times where we were watching Russell sitting in the interview room alone.
I know everything that I'm saying is being recorded, and I'm doing it on purpose. I can easily turn the speaker off and rant.
He was playing with turning on the mic, turning it on and off.
Officer Ford, please come to the holding cell.
Russell Jones was a little bit older. He was an outcast. He had been in foster care most of his life. He also had some mental health issues.
And then you guys will come in thinking I'm a loony because you don't hear me. Here's the thing. I'm not the one with the donut fetish. With coffee to go with it.
He is a very bizarre individual.
Ellie Fryer is my client, my protectee. You are to release her to me. Oh, I say no more.
I don't think Russell Jones was trying to act crazy. I think that's just Russell Jones.
While detectives are about to go in and talk with Jones, another investigator is hearing Ellie's side of the story.
Hi. Hello. Are you Ellie? No. What's your name?
I have the right to remain silent.
Okay, you do have the right to remain silent. I at least need to know your name now.
Rain.
Rain? Okay, Rain, well, how old are you?
18. Why am I being detained?
Well, it's kind of tricky to go into all of that when
you don't want to talk, but
I would like to know why I'm in handcuffs and why I'm detained. I have the right to know.
She, right off the bat, is telling me she's 18 years old and her name is Rain. I didn't get after her about that. I really wanted to be patient with her, and I thought, wow, we got a long way to go here.
this morning, your little sisters told your mom about something that worried them, that they saw in the large amount of blood.
What did they see?
That's what I'm going to ask you.
To be honest, I don't have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
You said that there was a large amount of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Is everybody okay?
She was acting not as smart as she is, and she was, I don't want to say necessarily putting on a show for me, but kind of trying to get a rise out of me, trying to make me lose my patience.
So I feel a little bit, tiny bit like we might just be like playing cat and mouse and going back and forth. Where's the last place you slept?
At the house.
At your mom's house?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've talked to your mom, and so I know that you hadn't been staying there.
Right, it's my father's weekend. I go back and forth, though.
What was going on yesterday to make you leave?
Just didn't really like the environment. Didn't like the vibe.
Who was home when you left?
My sisters and my dad.
Okay.
Where's my dad now?
I don't know. Where'd you go?
Just kind of wandering around town. My memory is pretty fuzzy, though.
Those people who say, oh, I have a daughter, she's 15 going on 35. Ellie acts like that about half of the time. But 5 minutes later, she's acting very young and naive.
You were walking down the street, it sounds like, today?
Mm-hmm.
Who were you with?
I was with my friends.
Who are your friends?
The two males that have also been detained. I'm not going to give their names.
We did not, at that particular point, early on, know a lot about Gavin McFarland. We had identified Gavin as Ellie's boyfriend. Gavin was 19, Ellie was in high school.
Tell me about the boyfriend you had that your dad thought was too old for you.
My dad's just flat out, I don't like this guy. You need to break up with him. Mm-hmm. And of course, I want my father's wishes for the person I'm seeing.
Tell me about that.
My parents are very controlling.
Yeah.
My dad is very abusive.
Mm-hmm. In what way?
Verbally, emotionally.
Gavin and Ellie were in this relationship. Ellie's dad, Aaron, knew about this relationship and had told them to knock it off. Well, Ellie did not want to end her relationship with Gavin.
When's the last time you saw your dad?
Yesterday. I'm too tired to keep talking. I'm really sorry.
Where did all the blood come from in your house?
I don't know.
You were there this morning, and Gavin was there this morning. I feel like you're using being tired as a cop-out.
She would pick at herself. She would talk in this like high, sort of a baby voice. And then further in the interview, when we kind of got to the facts of things, I noticed that her voice changed.
Where's your dad?
I don't know.
I'm just trying to figure out what happened. That's all.
I'm trying to piece together everything right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, so far you've told me you're 18 and your name is Rain. And I'm here to tell you, you're 15 and your name is Ellie.
I'm so out of it right now. I haven't taken any drugs. You can test me for anything you'd like.
Detective Smith then reveals they know more about what's been going on between Ellie and Gavin.
So we've kind of figured out what happened this morning.
What happened?
And what has been kind of happening for the last couple weeks as far as you getting your clothes out of the house and stuff.
Ellie had been taking her property, her clothing, miscellaneous items, and putting bags out her window over a period of time, slowly moving her belongings over to Gavin's residence.
Ellie's two little sisters were key because they were in the house that morning. And when Ellie left, they saw her take the dog.
I know that you're kind of playing like you don't know what happened. I know Gavin was at your house this morning. I know your dad saw him. I know that you moved the car around. I want you to know that we know what's going on. You're a very bright girl. So why did this happen today? Why today?
Why did I try to run away?
You know that's not what I'm talking about. We're not playing anymore.
Finally, Ellie discloses a crucial detail.
My situation with my father abusing me had gotten worse, so I was looking for a way out. So I started a plan to run away. I started transporting all of my clothes to Gavin's house, and then we went to get food, and then we were walking around and we all got detained.
And after hours of talking, she drops a bombshell.
All that blood at your house, that's your dad's. And I know you know that.
Russell attacked my father.
Okay.
And his bloody machete is over by the Northern Walmart.
She really put a lot on Russell. Russell had the machete. Russell did this to my dad.
And where were you when that happened?
In the back room. Gavin was getting my stuff out onto the driveway. As soon as I heard screaming, I ran. Okay. I don't know if Gavin was in on it. I don't know what their intentions were. All I was trying to do was get out of the house.
With Ellie pointing the finger at Russell, aka Mike, what does he have to say?
So, we can either tell pig jokes all day, or we can have a little chat.
And while he may seem unhinged, as you start to listen carefully, he appears to be talking about what may have happened to Aaron.
It wasn't really self-defense, so much as it was deepening her.
And to detectives, it sounds like Jones wants to talk.
I know you're looking directly at me, aren't you? The information I gave is not worth $6. It's worth a lot more. Let's make a deal. Do-do-do-do. Mr. Ford, you want the whole story? Because I did miss a few parts. You want the whole story? Ellie and Gavin are to be put in this room, and I'll give you a total of, let's set our clock, shall we? 2 hours.
Investigators take Jones out for a smoke break and get a big break in the case.
Initially, he told us that around midnight, he had went over to Ellie's residence with Gavin. He told us that around 4 a.m., Ellie's dad caught Gavin inside of Ellie's bedroom and pointed a firearm at him. Gavin was able to knock the rifle out of Aaron's hands. His initial statement was that he did not know where Ellie's father was or what had occurred after seeing the gun get knocked out of Aaron's hands. At that point, I explained to him, look, Russell, I don't want some child to be walking around and find Aaron. Immediately, we went from being outside smoking to getting in a vehicle with Russell in the front seat.
In this green car? We pulled up into that little ditch right there, that little divot.
Not far from where law enforcement recovered the vehicle, they found the body of Aaron Fryer.
Hey, I want to quickly thank Odoo for sponsoring this episode of Prime Crime. Odoo is a powerful all-in-one business software that helps you manage everything from sales to accounting and, yes, inventory. Their inventory dashboard makes it easy to track receipts, delivery orders, POS orders, and see what's waiting, see what's late, see what's back ordered all at a glance. You can pay for receipts, automate vendor reminders, schedule deliveries, all in just a few clicks. Plus, you get full warehouse management, the ability to set picking strategies, and real-time stock visibility. And the best part, Odoo's inventory app syncs seamlessly with your sales and e-commerce apps, so everything stays connected. You can manage your warehouse, deliveries, and inventory management with ease today with a free 15-day trial of Odoo at odoo.com/primecrimeinventory. Detectives have been investigating the disappearance of Aaron Fryer, and a seemingly unreliable suspect ends up leading them to the 50-year-old's body.
He had sustained at least 5 blunt force trauma injuries. He had a shattered skull, multiple blows to the skull and face. He had a defensive injury on his right arm. He had a broken right elbow, he had a broken rib, and there was bruising to his abdomen.
You showed me the baseball bat in the tree. Yeah. And did Ellie throw that?
Yes.
Okay. And
She has a pretty good throw.
Well, she does. I was going to say, that's a long way.
Not only did they find the body of Aaron Fryer, they also found a bat that appeared to be hanging in a tree. They located clothing that appeared to have been discarded.
You originally told us that his body was still twitching when you got there?
Yeah, because all the gases and stuff. He was dead.
What we're learning is something that Ellie has been wanting to happen for a while. And that the three of you guys have been having those conversations.
I was not in the planning of killing him. That was not my idea. I was at the house all day.
At whose house?
Gavin's house. He comes in, shows me the text. He says, "Get your stuff ready. We're going."
Mm-hmm.
And I was not happy with the text that she had sent.
And that's the one that talked about the abuse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something along the line of he came in to her room, laid next to her, and started off.
Were you upset about that?
Being a protector of females, yes.
Okay.
And if anyone tried to do that to my daughter, I'd probably grab a shotgun too, because no one harms my family like that.
From Russell's perspective, he viewed himself as a protector, and he felt that he needed to step in to, in a sense, save her.
What happened?
We headed over. We waited across the street. We were waiting there till she texted saying that he's asleep. She texted him, and Gavin went through her window. He goes into the living room, beats the crap out of the guy. I walk through the front door and I see dead body.
So what you told us earlier was that Gavin and Ellie were in the room, and that her dad came in with a gun and threatened him. That happened?
No.
No.
I just wanted to make it look like he was a good guy. And he is a good guy, trust me.
There is just such a case for a diminished mental capacity in terms of the decisions that were made and in terms of his real understanding of reality.
How did you know to come in afterwards?
She told me that she's going to pull the car around, and then, well, he's taking care of business, and then I hear the loud thuds, and she told me, okay, time to go in the front door.
Did you ever actively agree with Ellie and Gavin to cause any harm to?
Actively agree. Knowingly?
Knowingly agree.
To harm, yes. To kill, no.
It's always interesting to watch the blame game go on, particularly when you're watching all three defendants providing various versions of how it was that Aaron Fryer was murdered. The question becomes, how does law enforcement determine who's telling the truth?
Detectives meet with Gavin, Ellie Fryer's boyfriend, to see if they can figure out what's happened here.
Mike took us out to East Antelope, and we have people out there right now recovering Ellie's dad. He's deceased. It's my understanding that you guys went over there to get Ellie out of a bad situation. Basically, some things transpired over there, and Ellie's dad was basically wrapped up in a blanket and a tarp and taken out and dumped. This isn't a matter of when it happened, where it happened, who was involved. It's more a matter of why this happened, what actions Dad did compared to what actions you guys did.
Ellie and Gavin certainly had what would seem to be a very sexually involved type of relationship, really an adult relationship when you think of somebody only being 15. But what you also have here is a crime. It's statutory rape. But in their minds, I believe they really fashioned themselves as some sort of Romeo and Juliet type of relationship. And her father was getting in the middle of that. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
About how long ago? 4 to 5 months ago is when you first learned about Ellie and her dad?
I started learning about the abuse, and I witnessed some of it. The sexual thing, that was just recently, and that's what set me off, so.
It's hard to believe anything that Ellie Fryer says. She had claimed that her father had been abusing her. There is absolutely no evidence of any type of abuse.
Finally, Gavin McFarland tells investigators what really happened.
I go in the window, RJ waits outside.
He waits outside,
yeah.
And then do the bags start getting passed out the window?
Yeah.
Did Dad hear you guys in there?
He got up. I didn't want this guy to come in and start beating the crap out of me. And I was like standing behind the door, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I was getting up and going pee." And he's like, "All right, well, stop scaring me with all the people trying to break in lately."
Gavin knew the gig was up and basically provided a statement about his involvement. We knew from talking to Gavin that Ellie had handed him the bat while they had waited for Ellie's dad to fall asleep.
So then Ellie got out, and they waited in the car. I was just planning on walking straight out the front door, and he starts to wake up, and I just acted on instinct.
Ellie hands the bat off. He goes out. He bludgeons Aaron.
I just swung the bat downwards. It was dark. I couldn't see, so... And I don't know what I was doing.
How many times do you think you hit him?
Like 5 or 6 maybe. I heard him say like, "What the f***," and then like I just kept hitting him until he stopped, and I heard like gurgling, and
Was Ellie in the room when you did this?
No.
Was RJ in the room when you did this?
No.
Was it ever talked about between you, Ellie, and RJ for you to hit him with the bat? Was that ever discussed prior?
No. I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to kill him.
The evidence against Gavin, Ellie, and Russell is crystal clear. But even with a confession, one big question still remains. Who was the mastermind behind this whole thing?
I'm going to prison for murder, aren't I?
Well, that's what we need to figure out here. We need to figure out what your intent was, and it's important to know.
I'm just trying to protect Ellie. My possible child.
She told you she was pregnant?
I've known for about 2 weeks.
There was some talk that Ellie may be pregnant. And so I think her motive was maintaining her relationship with Gavin, who she thought and looked at as her fiance and maybe the father of her unborn child, which ultimately she was not pregnant.
When did the conversation come up that you were going to cause some harm to him?
She's like, "I want him out." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm really mad at him too, but I don't want to kill him."
Did you tell Ellie you don't want to kill him?
I told her, like, I don't want to do this.
Was RJ present when you guys had this conversation?
No.
Gavin eventually did confess to being the individual that actually used the bat to kill Aaron Fryer. Law enforcement searched the home of Gavin McFarland. In the home, they found a large amount of Ellie's belongings, her clothing, her personal items.
There was a drawing, a murder plan that was drawn by Ellie. She had actually drawn out the inside of the residence where security cameras were located in the neighborhood, identifying each room. There was arrows, basically so that they could go over the planning of this particular crime.
She's basically telling you that she wants Dad dead, right?
Yeah. This entire time I didn't really want to kill him. I was just gonna take Ellie, try to get her to a safer place. I'm really sorry.
I know you are, and I know this is difficult. And that's what we're
trying to help.
Gavin McFarland, Ellie Fryer, and Russell Jones are all charged for their involvement in Aaron Fryer's death. Russell Jones pleads no contest to conspiracy to commit murder and is sentenced to 15 years in prison. Gavin McFarland pleads guilty and is sentenced to 25 years to life for murder, conspiracy, and rape. As for Ellie Fryer, she pleads guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and is sentenced to 25 years in prison.
I just want to call my mom.
Out of all three, Gavin is really the only one that acts normal. He has that reality jolt and he cries out for his mother. I think he truly did it all for Ellie. She manipulated both of these two into feeling like they had to come to her rescue and that this was the answer.
The murder of Aaron Fryer was just senseless. There's no other way to say it. And a lot of these answers, they really came from the defendants themselves. But that is not the case in this next interrogation. Nope, this takes things to an even stranger level. We have a tense game of cat and mouse between law enforcement and the suspect. These heated and combative exchanges, and even the presence of multiple personalities.
El Paso County 911. My son was supposed to be home at 6 o'clock, and it's almost 7. He's only 11. Okay. What's his name? Gannon.
It's January 27th, 2020, Colorado Springs, Colorado. 36-year-old Letitia Stout, who's married to husband Albert Stout, is calling to report that her stepson, 11-year-old Gannon, has gone missing.
What steps have been taken to locate him? So we went to the neighbor's house. My daughter just went to Stingray Park, and he's not there. And who was the last person to see him? I guess me.
2 days after Gannon disappears, Letitia tells an investigator she has something to share.
Take me through Sunday into Monday and be as detailed as possible. Sunday, Gannon had started a candle. The fire thing went off. It started saying fire, 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 fire. So then I see smoke coming up from the downstairs. So then I ran back downstairs to get Gannon.
There's this story that kept being brought up about a candle. What we heard was that he was maybe playing with his Nintendo Switch by a candle, and maybe he shouldn't have been on his Switch, and that his stepmother came downstairs and he got scared and knocked this candle over.
The fire was on the floor over here, then on the sofa. There was covers everywhere. I take a whole bunch of them and I go and basically smash down on the sofa in the fire to put it out. Honestly, we were gonna fix the carpet and try to not say anything. Albert freaks out about every little thing, so that's where Sunday kind of stopped and everybody went to bed.
But as Letitia gets to the day of Gannon's disappearance, her story couldn't be more different than what she originally told police, as now she says someone else was involved.
And I know there's 2 things I gotta fix. Number 1, I need to fix the carpet, and number 2, I need to figure out, does Gannon need to go get some burn cream or whatever. Larson Ranch is a bunch of new builds, construction. So I pulled up and I was like, hey, do you know where you can get the carpet that is in the Larson Ranch model home? So we got the carpet from the guy in the construction area, said he was gonna bring it to me. So I gave him the address, and this is where I messed up. I gave him our code to get in, because he was gonna go fix it. And me and Gannon left. We went some places around town. We started to head home. As we got inside, I heard something. And I just started walking downstairs, opened the storage closet, and he was standing in there. He had on gloves. He had one of the guns. And I was terrified. So terrified. And then he just knocked me down and he was hitting on me. And he was trying to rape me. It was all my fault, because I gave him our code to fix the carpet. Okay. And I shouldn't have. Okay. And he. So then when I get downstairs, he has the gun, and he has Gannon. And I'm pleading and talking, just back and forth with him. And then he was on top of me again. And then I kind of lied out again because he just hit my head.
And this is where we hear the story of her being attacked, that someone broke into the home, attacked her, and attacked Gannon, and then took Gannon. And here's another layer to a different story that she's now providing investigators.
Investigators begin looking into what Letitia's telling them, but in order to do that, they need to examine Letitia herself for evidence, something that appears to get her agitated.
We had talked earlier about whether or not it would be able to take action at this point as far as gathering evidence, whether it had been too long, and I told you that it wasn't. Is that something that you're willing to do? Yes, definitely. I would do anything for you to figure out who Eduardo is. We'd like to get you over to the hospital for that. No, I would totally do that, but I really am. I just want to get some food and take a minute, and I can drive myself to the hospital.
The investigators started to see that something didn't quite fit here. Something was off.
Okay, you said I was free to go.
Are you wanting to leave right now?
I'm really hungry. I'm thirsty. Look at my lips, they're chapped.
Can you give me just a few minutes?
She said that I would be able to go.
And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm asking if you can give me a few minutes.
I can't. If you can, you just call me, or I have to maintain my mental health in this whole situation.
It would be better to get the forensic exam
I'm not
done
going over there like
before you
not
take a shower.
Not like cleaned. I'm not doing that. That's disgusting. I'm not doing that. But I will gladly go.
But you realize that's how we gather evidence, right? So if you go take a shower right now, and I understand that you're like uncomfortable, I would like to get you over to the hospital to get the exam done.
Okay, well, then I'm driving myself there, because I'm not getting escorted to an exam when I'm already going through a difficult time with having someone violate my body.
She was transported to the hospital so that a sexual assault examination can be conducted, but at the hospital refuses to undergo that sexual assault examination. She's really trying to set up this idea, and yet she's not willing to give up any evidence that would help us find that person.
Sit down on the couch.
Sir, I can't breathe. I'm just asking you to open the door.
Hey, I want to quickly thank Upside for sponsoring this episode of Prime Crime. And if you don't know what Upside is, it is great. It is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas, groceries, food. So when I pump my gas, I can use Upside. I go out to lunch, I can use Upside. Maybe I get something at a convenience store, I can use Upside. And why not get cash back when you do all these things, right? This is real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you transfer right into your bank account. So once you have the free Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card. You follow the steps on the app, you get paid. So to find out how much you can earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen, and make sure to use our promo code PRIMECRIME because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Hope you can check it out.
She portrays undergoing a very severe anxiety attack to try to get out of the interview.
Now we're going to have to call you an ambulance because you said you got chest pain.
I just told you I have chest pains. It's claustrophobic. I
Okay,
couldn't breathe.
so we're going to call you an ambulance. Yeah, well, you
And
weren't claustrophobic until...
Excuse me. I take lorazepam every day, and if I don't take it, I could have a panic attack.
That requires them to bring in paramedics, and they find that she's perfectly normal. She knows that the investigation is starting to zero in on her.
Detectives still aren't totally clear on what happened the day Gannon disappeared, yet they suspect Letitia might know more than she's letting on. But then, detectives learn new information that changes the course of the whole investigation.
One of the first days I covered this little missing boy, the neighbors were doing whatever they could. And I got to speaking with Roderick Drayton. He said, you know what? I live just a few doors down and my camera faces their house. He calls me back and says, you're gonna wanna come back down here. I found the video. I found him in the car with Letitia.
He was lethargic early on the morning of the 27th. The way he walks out to the truck clearly showed that he was under the influence of some sort of drug.
And one more thing points to Letitia Stout. Evidence is found at the Stouts' home, suggesting Gannon was possibly killed there.
When Letitia calls 911, the police actually go out to the scene and walk through the house. And there's nothing immediately apparent that would suggest something bad had happened. It really goes to the idea that she did an extensive job of cleaning up the crime scene. And then when we go into Gannon's bedroom, you could see very fine blood staining on the walls, so small that it was hard to see with the naked eye.
The investigators, they find blood and DNA all over the home. And the most chilling part of where they find the blood in his bedroom is it's underneath his mattress, underneath the carpet pad, and soaked into the concrete below. And that tells you how much blood came from this young child. Through the blood, through the forensics, through the ability to track her movements in the time frame of when Gannon was supposedly lost, they're able to piece together that she had a lot more in connection to this case than she initially told law enforcement.
The FBI arrests Letitia Stout for the murder of her stepson, Gannon, and brings her in for questioning.
I'm getting charged with what now?
We found enough, you call it probable cause,
Okay.
for a warrant to be issued.
Okay, a warrant for what though?
It was for the murder.
What
of
murder?
Gannon Stack.
So Gannon is murdered.
That's what the evidence shows.
Okay.
I don't think you intended to hurt Gannon at all.
Sir.
Something bad happened in his room.
No.
If you didn't do it, and it helps me find Gannon,
I didn't do it.
okay, well then help me find out who did.
Who did what?
That to Gannon in his room.
Done what to Gannon in his room?
There's a pool of blood in the corner.
Okay.
That's Gannon's blood.
Where do you think that I had any involvement with Gannon, and where did he go?
You're the last adult with him. You told a lot of lies.
He would lead her down a path, and right at the point where she's going to make a statement that would potentially incriminate herself, she's conscious enough to know that this is occurring, and then she would then pull back.
The agent then confronts Letitia on something that raised red flags earlier in the investigation.
Here I even have what you entered in your phone. The stuff that you've entered and deleted, like blood is spurting from an arterial bleed, direct pressure not controlling.
Do what? I didn't look this up.
Somebody did from your phone. I don't like my stepson.
No.
I don't like my stepson. Should I get a divorce? How to get blood out of sheets.
Out of sheets?
Mm-hmm.
Her Google searches were massive in this case. How long does it take a body to decompose, face transplants, find people who want to go to jail?
If you did something bad to Gannon, could you ever admit it?
What? I didn't do anything bad to Gannon.
Right now, you're the last person with Gannon.
I don't do bad things to people. I don't.
I don't think you do bad things to people.
I don't do bad things to anyone, and I didn't do anything bad to Gannon. Why would I hurt our child? I had everything in the world. Why? I have no motive. None.
But investigators come across a recording from the night when Stout says Gannon accidentally caused a fire from a candle that sheds a chilling light on their relationship.
Gannon, I promise this is the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
I did it.
Okay, you promise. You promise.
On purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
There was one video where she was manipulating him on that Sunday night.
We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So we figure out what we gotta sell. We can sell the sofa, we can sell whatever, because we gotta get it fixed, so lady, don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house, okay? You got it? You got it?
I'm just worried about my bird.
Okay, shh, listen.
You hear this little boy's voice and the fear in his voice, and she recorded him. You hear that recording and it's this little boy, I promised I didn't mean to do it, and just his voice shaking and he's crying.
You know where an 11-year-old is, and I am here telling you we could go find him, and you are not giving us his location. Alive or dead.
I did not hurt my child.
While authorities may know who's responsible for Gannon's disappearance, there's still one major missing piece. Gannon is still nowhere to be found. That's when a case-changing discovery is made hundreds of miles away.
We're here at the bridge next to Escambia County line and reference the suitcase.
We got the news that 1,300 miles away, bridge inspectors in Pensacola, Florida, find this suitcase, and everyone's heart sunk.
Decided we'd open it to see if anything was in it. Body rolled out, along with what appears to be a comforter.
Investigators discover Letitia rented a van and drove 1,300 miles to Florida with her daughter just days after Gannon's disappearance.
They were tracking her. If your kid's missing out of a town in Colorado Springs, why are you leaving? We later found out why. Hotel records right near that bridge from February 4th, that gave us answers.
Authorities believe Letitia tossed this suitcase with Gannon dead inside over a bridge in the middle of the night, while her daughter Harley slept in a nearby hotel room.
Gannon's body was just discarded as if it was trash. He suffered from not only stab wounds, but also a gunshot injury. The bullet that was recovered from Gannon was able to be connected to a gun that was found in Letitia's bedroom.
He was stabbed 17 times. He was hit over the head 4 times. And then the final injury that he sustained was a gunshot wound to his jaw. He was also given hydrocodone, so he was poisoned by a very strong drug. It really speaks to the horrific hours of Gannon's last hours here on Earth alive.
After more than 3 years, in April 2023, Letitia Stout goes on trial for first-degree murder, tampering with the deceased human body, and tampering with evidence. As for Stout's defense, she entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity.
It did come up during the trial that Letitia may suffer from having multiple personalities. And from an insanity defense standpoint, if your client has any kind of mental disease or defect, you throw that all against the wall and see what sticks.
And then comes Maria, a different supposed personality of Letitia's that the jury got to see in a recorded psychological evaluation.
When I was interviewing her over a period of time, suddenly it seemed to me that she was speaking Russian.
Someone was in the home, we don't understand. Someone was in the home.
It looked as though she had switched into a different entity. I think she believed she was speaking some other language.
You don't understand. I had to protect the people that were in the house, okay? Because if someone was in the home, they were going to rape someone, they were going to molest them, they were going to kill them. I had to protect them. All I did, okay? And I fired the gun. I did not know, didn't have a safety. I'm trained to kill. That's what I do. I kill for a living. I took the gun, I fired the gun at someone. They had a cape on, they looked like a dangerous man. Killed the man. Did what I was supposed to do, which I killed the guy.
When she was speaking in that Maria voice, that gave me goosebumps, because that was the first time I think I heard anything of any admission really of guilt, but it's in this other voice. Their job is to put doubt in the jurors' minds, right? And those videos were certainly compelling.
The jury comes back with their decision. Letitia Stout is found guilty of all charges, including murder in the first degree. She's sentenced to life without parole.
That last interview was intense, but I'll tell you what, sometimes it's the investigators who create the most captivating moments in an investigation. And in our next case, I want you to watch as the detective skillfully sets a trap for the suspect.
Luke Air Force Base, April 2020. 2 months after the body of 27-year-old Mennonite Sasha Kraus is found in a remote park in New Mexico, Detective Lauren Nagel interrogates Airman Mark Gooch. Police linked his cell phone pings to Sasha's on the evening of her disappearance. But here's the thing. So far, there's no other connection between the two.
Hey Mark, I'm Detective Jones. I'm with the Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
I have a couple questions for you. I was wondering if you would come chat with me over at OSI's office.
So he went in for a drug test, the door opens, and the detective from Coconino County comes walking through the door and starts asking him about this case, which was a completely different reason than he thought he was there. Catches him off guard.
Hey guys, thank you so much for following this special compilation episode with us. It really took a long time to put this all together, to bring you these stories, and I want to thank our incredible sponsor, Morgan & Morgan, for helping make this happen. This is America's largest injury law firm. If you should get injured, this is the firm that you may want in your corner. Not only do they have an army of over 1,000 attorneys, they have an incredible track record. In the past few months, Morgan & Morgan secured a $9.3 million verdict for a car crash victim in Florida, a $5.6 million verdict for another car accident victim in Atlanta, and not to mention $1.8 million in Kentucky after insurance offered them a mere $5,000 in that case. And even if you think your case isn't worth millions of dollars, why not just start a claim and fight for what you deserve? Morgan & Morgan makes it so simple. It can all be done right from your phone. That includes uploading documents, signing contracts, talking to your legal team. It can all be done right from your phone. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/primecrime or scan the QR code on screen.
How long have you been in the Air Force for?
I've been in the Air Force just over a year.
Okay, not too long.
Not too long.
Detective Lauren Nagel is interviewing Airman Mark Gooch about the disappearance of 27-year-old Sasha Kraus.
Well, thank you for your service, first of all. I did not serve in the military myself, so I really admire people who choose to do that.
It was one of the more polite interviews I've ever seen, one of the more non-confrontational interviews, and one of the more open police interviews I've ever seen on tape. She was basically just presenting what she had and waiting for him to walk into the trap.
I am working a homicide investigation. There was a girl named Sasha Kraus that was killed. Tell me what you know about the case.
It's basically the news report. She was from Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she left home one evening, and they found her in northern Arizona, like Flagstaff area, correct?
Right. So that's the case that I'm working. Any idea now why I'd want to talk to you at all?
Probably because I was probably traveling up in New Mexico.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we've got these things called license plate readers.
Okay.
And your vehicle hit a license plate reader in that area. Do you remember that day then when you went to New Mexico?
Yeah, I think I remember some of it.
He starts kind of answering questions. He seems a little suspicious, but also very calm, very quiet, very simplistic in his answers. By all accounts, a typical 21-year-old.
So here's the deal. So your vehicle was picked up on that license plate reader in the general area on the same day actually that she went missing. I'm hoping really that maybe you have something that could help me. I don't know if you saw anything. Did you know her or anything about the case?
No, ma'am. From what I read online, it's terrible.
Okay. So why were you in New Mexico that day?
I was planning on going, so I was checking out Mennonite churches. I traveled.
I noticed I just saw a little bit of an emotion in you when we talked about that. Is there something that happened to you in the Mennonite church that upsets you?
Not really, it's just a way of life. I didn't really like it. I was happy to be out of it.
Mark Gooch had some bitterness towards his upbringing and some resentment towards the Mennonite church.
Are you still Mennonite? I don't really know how to word that.
I tried to go to, I was trying to find a Mennonite church for a while to go to.
Oh, really? Where's the closest Mennonite church to here?
I think they had one over here in,
There were Mennonite churches in the Phoenix area where he worked, but this Mennonite church in the Lamp and Light community was nearly 7 hours away, driving time. And that seemed odd.
I'm still trying to understand why that specific church you drove, 7 hours or so to visit.
I figured I'd go check out another church, and I had plenty of time, so I figured I'd go for a good drive.
Okay, so let's just recap that, because that's obviously what we want to talk about here, is just your trip to New Mexico. So you said, and this is January 18th we're talking about. So what time about did you leave here, Luke Air Force Base?
Probably left fairly early in the morning.
You drove straight to Flagstaff, where you say you got gas.
Correct.
You say then you drove straight to Farmington, where you got gas again. Correct. Okay. And then it was around 2 p.m. you went to the Mennonite church there, drove around a little bit looking to see if they had church service. About how long do you think you were in the area of the church?
Literally just swung by there about 2 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Checked to see what time they were gonna have their service. No Saturday services. I left the area. I left the church.
From what I'm understanding, it doesn't sound like you were there for very long.
No, man.
There was no evidence he ever went inside a church. In fact, he didn't even go that close to the church.
But based on the pings of their cell phones, police believe that this must have been when he kidnapped Sasha.
And then what? What was the next thing you remember?
I talked to my friend. He wanted to go hiking on Sunday, and I really wanted to make it for that.
And then you think that you just drove straight back. You do not. Did you say you stopped for gas again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
I cannot recall if I did.
Okay. Did you guys end up going hiking that day?
No, we didn't. I got back too late. As I said, I got back around when it got dark, like 8 or 9. So.
I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Let's see.
So you said you're getting home at 8 or 9 p.m. on Saturday night.
Correct.
Surveillance video from Luke Air Force Base, though, provides a very different timeline.
Having that surveillance video was probably one of the first holes in his story that she could latch onto and confront him with.
There definitely are some inconsistencies that I'm seeing, from your story to what I already know. So first of all, the time that you got back that night. So what if I told you that the time that you came in the gate that morning was 6:53 in the morning?
Would not guess it was that late.
That's a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
No, you came back to base the next day, 7 in the morning. We have tape of you going through the front gate at Luke Air Force Base. We have surveillance tape of you walking up to your barracks room right after that.
So how do you explain that?
I stopped and slept in the car. On the way back, I had trouble staying awake. Tried to stop and sleep multiple times, but that's... Couldn't really sleep. It was cold.
I just want to slow down here because I can tell you're getting, a little nervous or whatever, but again, all I ask is that you tell me the truth.
Understood.
All right, so if there's anything that before you kept from me that now is going to come out, now would be the time. So again, you saying that you came home at even 2 in the morning compared to almost 7 in the morning, that's almost 5 hour difference.
Correct. I understand.
Okay.
Well, I probably stopped and slept in the vehicle longer than I thought. I came in later than I thought.
Okay.
Then I remembered.
I'm just going to ask you straight. Were you involved with Sasha Krause's homicide?
No, ma'am.
Did you abduct Sasha Krause?
No, ma'am.
Did you know somebody who did?
No, ma'am.
Did you know anything about her leaving that church?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you kill Sasha Krause?
No, ma'am.
Do you know who killed her?
No, ma'am.
Alright. So, from what you're saying, you know nothing at all about Sasha Krause being abducted, killed, nothing about her case.
Correct.
The reason I ask is, again, we talked earlier, you're Mennonite, right? You grew up Mennonite, so I wondered if maybe you've ever even encountered her anywhere?
No, we didn't have anybody with that last name back in our community.
We have a detective talking to Sam right now.
Sam is one of Mark Gooch's brothers.
Sam's telling us some stuff, and you're talking to me, and I want to just make sure, what both of you guys are telling us lines up. And what I know a little bit about from what Sam said is, sounds like something's going on here as far as maybe you have hard feelings against the Mennonite church, or maybe like a grudge or something like that.
One of the text messages he sent with his brother Sam Gooch indicated that he was surveilling some Mennonites in the Phoenix area. He didn't go on in those text messages to explain what that meant or why he was doing it, but that word surveillance really stood out to detectives.
WYD, making some breakfast, might do some cleaning, bored as same for some reason. Even this morning's surveillance was boring. Bunch of old people without much left to live for, and clearly not the Mennonite people we grew up with. Sad to say, another disappointment.
This was someone who had some real darkness, some evil in his heart. Someone who hated his upbringing and wanted to lash out at the people he blamed for his youth.
It seems that Mark Gooch's brother Sam knew about the crime as early as the day Sasha's body was found.
Investigators also found that that exact day, he took his car to get cleaned, basically detailed. It was scrubbed inside out, it was taken to the car wash. Any evidence that was in that car could have been scrubbed away immediately.
In fact, Mark Gooch was communicating with his brother Sam Gooch at the time that it was getting detailed and talking about how it was really getting steam cleaned and getting worked over. So the timing of that was very interesting.
I'm getting car done right now. Cool. Should be all fresh and clean then.
But things didn't work out as planned when Mark Gooch seemingly tried to hide a key piece of evidence.
Mark reached out to his brother and asked him to clear his data from his cell phone remotely.
Mark Gooch is being interrogated about the disappearance and murder of Sasha Krause, and investigators have discovered a key piece of evidence.
The gun that was used in this crime was a .22 long rifle. It was a gun that was not allowed on the military base. It was not registered.
Investigators found out that Mark Gooch had contacted a friend to take this gun from him, take it off base, and hide it for a while.
After Mark Gooch asked his friend to hold the gun for him, there was communication between Mark Gooch and his brother Sam, and where he asked Sam to get his property, including this firearm. Now, the friend was aware that there was an investigation, and so he contacted police on his own and told the police, I have this firearm, and his brother, Sam Gooch, is going to try to collect it. And so the police arranged a sting operation in the Phoenix area. Sam Gooch went to the Phoenix area to pick up this firearm.
The handoff was completed, police saw the entire thing, and arrested him for basically trying to help him cover up the crime.
So let me get this straight. You're talking to Sam right now, huh? Mm-hmm. So it sounds like I need to get a lawyer because you're trying to pin something on me.
Mark Gooch is charged and convicted of the first-degree murder of Sasha Kraus, as well as kidnapping and theft. He's sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
Tragically, all too often, investigators don't need to look too far from home to find the perpetrator of a horrendous crime. But in our next case, when the suspect refuses to provide any information, investigators need to dial up the heat to find the answers.
November 2020, Mount Morris, Illinois. The Lamish family is grieving the loss of EMT and young mom-to-be, 27-year-old Melissa Lamish, and her unborn son following a house fire. After determining the fire was likely no accident, investigators focused their sights on the last person to see Melissa alive, Matthew Plody, the father of Melissa's unborn child.
You spoke to Melissa's brother on the phone?
He called me. He asked me if I saw her today. I said, yeah, I was over. And then as he hung up, he said that I was the last one there. And I was kind of alarmed about that.
What else did he tell you?
I don't remember.
Melissa is deceased.
Cassie had been on the phone with Melissa when Matthew came to the door. Melissa had said to Cassie, I'm gonna make this quick with him and I'll call you right back. Cassie was expecting a phone call back, but that never came. At first, the story we heard was he had been there 10 minutes. You know, he was in and out very quickly.
You got to Mount Morris what time?
Around 1.
Did she call you over today?
No, she did not.
Did you call her, tell her to come by, or just decided to?
Just stop in and chat. We've had lunch a few times.
How many times have you been to the house in Mount Morris?
5 or 6.
When the conversation turns to the nature of Plody's relationship with Melissa, he speaks rather candidly.
Were you guys ever in a dating relationship?
No. In college, we were seeing each other.
They had met when Matt was still in college. They connected and they had an on and off relationship over the next 10 years, mostly off. Colloquially, we would probably just call it a hookup relationship.
Off and on since 2014. Obviously, you were together at some point. She's pregnant. Were you actually dating at the time, or was it just... Okay.
Some people say that they were just kind of in an undefined relationship, but he admits that he's the father of the child.
When did she notify you that she was pregnant?
May or April.
Were you guys considering abortion?
I asked her about it, and she said no, which it's not my choice.
So today you just decided that you were going to buzz over and talk. How long were you at the house?
It wasn't more than an hour, I don't think.
Matt had mentioned that they had talked about there being a deadline. He's referencing that there was a timeline by which they had to decide if they were going to keep the baby. And Matt said, yeah, I brought it up to her once. She said she didn't want to abort the baby, and that's where he left it.
What did you guys talk about today?
Finances. We talked about it before, and previously I wasn't really on board. But today, last couple weeks or so, I wanted to be involved. I know my parents want to be involved.
Was she receptive to you being around a little bit more?
She said that she would want, time and that we could work out and schedule visits.
All those times that you were there, I mean, you guys got along and everything, right? She wasn't mad at you for just popping by randomly, or?
No. It was so 2-3 weeks ago. She had said that she wasn't sure because my parents really wanted to be involved. I said, whether or not you and I have a relationship about this, and that was before we talked money and grandparents' rights are a thing. So my parents are gonna want to be involved. That was the only time that we ever had if you even call it a tiff about it. And then she later said, that's something we can work on.
But Melissa's family understood the situation to be very different.
He really wasn't talking much with Melissa, as far as I understood it. What Melissa ended up saying was, he's never going to grow up. And she came to terms with that. She did accept the fact that he didn't want to be in the baby's life. But in Melissa's eyes, the rest of his family, they deserved to know the baby if they chose.
Melissa Lamish went to Matthew's parents, to their home, and said along the lines of, "Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm having your son's baby. You're going to be grandparents." And so, of course, they said that they did want to be involved.
And we had conversations at the kitchen table for about an hour. Then what?
We had sex.
What happened after sex?
Small talk for 10 minutes and I left.
Was there anybody else in the house when you were there?
No, there wasn't.
Anybody in between? Did anybody knock on the door, stop over?
No.
Matt never hid that he was there from anybody. And this is hours after she's allegedly been killed and someone set this house on fire, and Matt Plody is there telling police, yes, I was there. I saw her. We had sex. I talked to her about the birth of the child. And that when he left, she was microwaving some lunch.
With nothing to hold Plody on, the interview ends. Days after the fire, officials conduct an autopsy, and the results are shocking.
They actually determine that there's no soot or smoke in her throat, and there's some contusions kind of on her face and neck, which are very indicative of being strangled.
I myself went into huge denial. I was so upset, so brokenhearted. I couldn't stomach that anybody would be so angry, or that anyone would hate my daughter so much as to want to erase her from this earth.
Coming up, homicide detectives put pressure on their #1 suspect in the murder of Melissa Lamish.
If you didn't want to do it, that leads me to believe it was an accident. Is that correct? You and your own... Yes or no, Matt?
And later, you're not going to want to miss one of the most bizarre and outrageous interrogations we have ever seen.
You're going to look at this right here, this little girl right here, and you're going to say you don't know? I know you know.
I don't.
Thinking to yourself, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. They'll go away. They'll go away. We're not going away. This isn't going to go away.
Homicide detectives have their suspicions that Matthew Plody knows more than he's saying about the untimely deaths of 27-year-old Melissa Lamish and their unborn son. Almost a year after the fire, in August 2021, police bring Plody in to talk once more, with a warrant for a DNA sample.
Did you go over there Monday and then Wednesday? Monday you didn't do it, but Wednesday you made sure it got done? Or did you just show up Wednesday and after you guys had sex something happened? Something went wrong? What scenario is it, Matt?
They confront Plody on what happened that afternoon almost a year prior, but this time, he's pretty tight-lipped.
Once you start down that road, it's hard to get out of it. It's hard to pull yourself back. And whatever anger, whatever emotions you were feeling, whatever scenario, Matt, this is the end result right here. So how did we get here?
They try everything from, look, if you just come clean with us now, we'll talk to the DA on your behalf, to, don't you want your side of the story to be out so that people won't think that you're this raging murderer?
People are going to make it an opinion that you went there, did horrific things, pre-planned, took a little murder kit with you, went along, did it.
What that technique does is it tries to paint a much more serious picture of what the person is in so that they will at least give you something.
There were 4 people there that day. You were there. Melissa was there. Amy was there. And God was there. Matthew, what happened there that day? You didn't go over there to kill Tom and Nancy's grandchild. Something happened. And once that ball's in motion, sometimes you just can't. It's too late. She may have sparked it by something she said, something she did. Is that what happened, Matt? Matt, your silence. Stephanie.
Throughout this hours-long interaction, the detectives do most of the talking, but eventually, Plody does say something which sets off Detective Brian Ketter.
If you're to this point, why am I not under arrest?
We want your side of the story. And I'm not going to lie to you, Matt. The longer we talk, the more I think that you planned this thing out months ahead of time. And you went over there Monday to kill her, but you didn't have the balls to do it, so you left. And you called off sick, and you went back Wednesday, and you finished what you couldn't do on Monday. And now they're both dead. So if this is not a mistake, and if you're not sorry for killing your kid, then I think you got rid of a mistake that happened 9 months ago. If this isn't a mistake, and you're not sorry for doing this to your own son, then you planned this out ahead of time, and you meant to do this.
Is that what happened, Matt?
Did I plan to hurt her?
Yeah.
No.
This time, the tactic that's taken by law enforcement is, we want you to confess. You are clearly the target of our investigation. There is no good cop in the room now.
You said it was not premeditated, yes? Matt, yes? You didn't plan this out, right?
I said I never wanted to hurt her.
If you didn't want to do it, that leads me to believe it was an accident. Is that correct? You and your own...
Yes or no, Matt?
You just said you didn't want to hurt her. Is that yes?
Yes.
You have no reason to say why you went from being nice Matt public service to monster and killed them and lit the house on fire because you went there to kill them.
You did not want to hurt her. Is that correct?
Correct.
What happened that it ended up hurting her and killing her? Did you two have an argument?
Your paper said I have the right to not say anything.
You are correct.
Plody just kind of clams up. He does not give them the real confession that they're looking for.
You drove from Malta to there, leaving your phone at home so cops couldn't track you, because you've probably seen that somewhere, read it somewhere on the internet, and you drive there, she opens the door, bam, it's on. You killed her, and then you lied, said you haven't seen her in forever.
And Matthew Plody has a secret, one that detectives must carefully extract.
You saw that picture, I could see it in your expression. That's the last time you saw Melissa.
Matt, why did you do that to her?
Were you involved in another relationship that you didn't want them to know that you had a child? Who were you dating?
Katie.
They knew that he had another relationship going on with another woman. They accuse him of not wanting to have anything to do with Melissa.
Are you guys currently dating?
Yes.
Does she know about Melissa?
No.
So had Melissa given birth on Friday, that would have been a surprise to Katie.
Yeah, I was going to break up with Katie that evening. I didn't.
They repeat to him, why wouldn't he have told, his parents about this? Why wouldn't he have told family members about this? And oh, well, that's because you didn't want this child. You didn't want Melissa in your life. Come on, Matt, this is serious.
In 2 days, your life was going to change. And in one moment, you took care of that problem, but you created a much bigger one for yourself.
That's when Plody begins shutting down completely.
What is your explanation for everything I just said to you?
Second time I said I think I'd like to talk to an attorney.
You think you'd like to talk to an attorney, or do you want to talk to an attorney? Because I think I'd like a ham sandwich right now. So do you think you want to talk to an attorney, Matt, or do you want to talk to an attorney?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Yes, I would like to talk to an attorney.
Though it took over a year to build their case, through witnesses and evidence, Matthew Plody is officially charged with first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, aggravated battery, concealment of a homicide, and arson, which could lead to a life sentence.
A really important thing that they discover is that Matthew Plody's DNA is under her fingernails. There are a number of ways that could happen, one of which is obviously defensive wounds. He has a pretty big motive, past statements to other people about his feelings about the child. They get a search warrant, they go around Matthew Plody's property, they go through his garbage, they find gloves, they find a pink Bic lighter, and they find a Fitbit. They basically had what they thought they needed. This is kind of a bow on top.
Now that Matt's been arrested, he's very aware of how serious this is. He's aware of the gravity of the situation. I think the police are hoping against all hope that he will just make some sort of admission.
So what does Matthew Plody have to say now? Has he changed his tune even a little bit? He's taken to an interrogation room to talk once more, as investigators make one final push for answers.
You were indicted by the grand jury yesterday. We know what happened, you know what happened, and God knows what happened. Now, what are you telling yourself in here right now? What are you telling yourself? Take it to the grave? You can't do that, buddy. It's destroying you. You know it is. You need to show everyone that you're not the monster.
The judge overseeing the arraignment certainly took into account just the absolute brutality of this. Setting a bond of $10 million really kind of showcases where the judge's head is, because this is an exceptionally high bail, even for a murder charge.
At trial, Matthew Plody is found guilty of first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, aggravated domestic battery, arson, and concealment of homicidal death. He's sentenced to life in prison, but at the time of this recording, Matthew Plody has filed an appeal.
Sometimes the efforts of family to be supportive of a suspect can backfire, leading to their own criminal convictions, as you'll see in our next case.
It's Mother's Day weekend 2021 in St. Johns County, Florida. Police are investigating the disappearance of 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, who never came home after hanging out with friends late Saturday night. Tragically, her body is located the next day near a pond in a wooded area adjacent to the neighborhood where she lived. She had been stabbed a total of 114 times. Authorities set their sights on 14-year-old Aiden Fucci, who's believed to be the last person with Tristan before she disappeared.
Are you willing to kind of give me a statement about what's going on?
Yeah, so we're at Trey's house, and then I stayed there until probably like 1:50 a.m. And then I was really late to be home, so I just had to leave, or else my mom would like seriously just kill me.
He had changed his story from, I didn't see her, to I saw her and walked her home, basically, and then changed it to, well, we got in an argument and I pushed her down.
We started walking home, and then next to like where that brick wall starts up there,
okay,
is where like she touched my and I like pushed her off me real hard, and then I just kind of walked away out of anger.
As the day went on and the night went on, we found more and more video surveillance, and you could actually start following them through the neighborhood. And so then we knew he was the last one with her.
A short period of time later, Aiden was caught running on video by himself, holding his shoes, and there was no Tristan in the video.
Police detain Aiden and Tristan's friend, Trey Absher, in the back of a cruiser. And that's when Aiden does something very concerning.
It's in a cop car, cuz. It's tripping, dude. It's so right on this. Oh my god. Damn, dude, has like flashbangs back there.
Aiden was put in the back of a police car to be questioned and posted on Snapchat. Real self-serving picture of him, like defiant and pretending that he didn't know anything about this.
We're having fun in a cop car.
Looking at his behavior, it just felt downright sadistic, disgusting the way that he behaved.
Let me see your phone. Thank you. Take his phone to him for now. We're gonna be holding on to your phones, alright, buddy? Hey Siri. Text Dream Girl. They took my phone. I'm using Siri and I love you. Bye. Hey Siri. Text Dream Girl. I can't see your text. The phone's in the front seat. I'm talking through the glass. Hey Siri. Text Dream Girl. Please stick with me through this.
Just had a complete and total arrogance, just a lack of care of human life.
What's this place?
It's a holding room.
Once he's brought into the station, Aiden stops talking to authorities. But when his parents come into the room, their recorded conversation reveals a lot more.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood, down our main street.
Is she good?
No, she's not.
She's dead.
Parents asked to see him, so he was placed in a room with them, and they just started, asking questions.
This is very important. It's all on you right now.
What is my problem?
You were
You
the
were
last
the
one.
last one seen with her. So right now, it's facing you right now, son. So however you talk, you breathe, you think, then you respond.
This is very serious, Aiden. You can't act like I don't know.
I think it gave a lot of insight into his character and who he is. His whole attitude was very nonchalant. You're 14 years old and this is your classmate and your friend and you were with her last night.
Did you kiss or do anything with this girl?
Be honest as you can.
Yeah, I kissed her.
Anything further?
Mm-mm.
So your DNA is going to be on her?
His story was that they got to this particular intersection and they had kissed, and then she grabbed his private part and he pushed her down.
She pushed her down and then you walked away. We shouldn't be talking. You walked away, you came straight home. You didn't turn back around and see where she went?
Did they ever say why it took you so long to get home?
Mm-hmm. So I walked around.
By yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Did you just walk really slow home?
Yeah.
And he doesn't get home until 2 hours later. And what was he doing in those 2 hours? Well, he said he was just walking around.
You didn't do nothing right.
What's that?
It's a hell of a bad time, bad spot. Leaving a 13-year-old girl by herself in the middle of the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning is not smart.
This is serious, Aiden.
It's very serious.
This is no joke. This is your whole life. Your whole life.
And ours.
And ours. And your brothers and sister. It's very
We
serious.
saw your shoes were off on the camera. Why were your shoes off?
Because my feet were hurting. And the shoes give me blisters.
We're gonna go home and get your clothes.
What clothes?
The clothes you're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be nothing on those clothes, right?
Yes, sir.
I think ultimately what was important from that interaction with mostly his mom, was he admitted one thing. She basically asked him what he was wearing when he came home.
You wore khakis or blue jeans?
Blue jeans.
You sure it's not one of them?
I think so. What?
When we looked on the camera, you were wearing khakis, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said jeans. She's trying to insinuate to him that, no, you're wearing khakis. When you look back at our surveillance video, all the daytime video, it's very clear he's wearing jeans. And then Trey told us he left the house in jeans.
They're gonna keep him here, right?
I don't know. They don't have no evidence that I know of yet. Unless you know anything I don't know. Nothing to worry about, right?
Aiden's parents wanted to know the truth from Aiden, but they didn't want law enforcement to know the truth.
Are you not scared?
Not really.
Not really?
I'm a little scared.
If he didn't do nothing, I'd be worried about.
They were telling Aiden in the interrogation room to find a story and stick with it. They were more concerned about their son's ability to get away with it than taking responsibility.
I still see why you kissed her and then all of a sudden she grabbed you and then you pushed her.
You better find your story and stay to it.
Yep. And I don't like all that switching back and forth stuff.
Police dig even deeper into Aiden. He may be suspicious, but could this 14-year-old be a killer? Authorities speak with his girlfriend.
Did Aiden ever discuss anything to you that would make you think he wanted to try to use a knife on somebody?
Aiden talked about killing people a lot.
We always teach people, if you see something, say something. But when you're a young person and another person is lashing out verbally, you sometimes just chalk up to braggadocio, that he's just talking smack.
Investigators are digging into Aiden Fucci as the prime suspect in the murder of 13-year-old Tristan Bailey when they hear some disturbing information from Aiden's girlfriend.
Aiden and I had a dark sense of humor, and I never took him seriously. He talked about wanting to kill me. Sometimes he would take his knife and pretend to stab me with it.
Did you ever hear Aiden discuss having a certain plan that he wanted to carry out? Did he ever discuss in detail, like, this is how I would do something, or this is what I want to do?
Yeah, he did.
The difficult part of it is there were people who knew what he was contemplating and what he was planning.
That's one thing that kept coming out is we didn't think he was being for real. But that's not even funny.
He said that he would just walk at night and find like a random person walking to and just drag them in the woods and stab them. He said I should expect it within the month.
And when was that he said this?
I think this month.
Did Aiden carry any personal items on him?
Aiden kept knives for protection. He
Okay.
always had a knife on him if he wasn't at school.
We found out he was very obsessed with knives. He had two in particular that he had named.
He called one picker, and then he called that one poker.
Did it look like this?
Yeah, that's the same knife.
The murder weapon was found in the pond right nearby. And the tip of that knife was found in Tristan's head.
Everything investigators have learned leads to a search of the Fucci's home.
We located shoes that were hidden that tested positive for blood, a shirt of his, and a pair of jeans in a hamper that were damp, and then a lot of those items tested positive for blood. The drain trap in his bathroom sink. We were able to get her DNA on that knife, even though it had been in water for a period of time.
The evidence was pretty overwhelming that he was lying all along. She didn't just disappear. He was directly involved with her death.
Aiden Fucci is arrested and charged with murder, and due to the brutality of the crime, he's set to be tried as an adult, facing 40 years to life in prison.
There was no motive. He just wanted to do it.
And I think that's one of the most difficult parts for us. There's nothing she did. There was no reason for the crime. He just wanted to kill somebody.
Yet Fucci wasn't the only one who faced charges.
From their own home surveillance system, we discovered that Crystal went up to his room and located a pair of jeans in a hamper that she felt had blood on them. And then you see where she is taking them into a bathroom and clearly washing them in a sink. What that was is tampering with evidence, and we chose to charge her.
Aiden Fucci pleads guilty to the first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. He's sentenced to life in prison, but he'll be eligible for review of his sentence after 25 years. Aiden's mother, Crystal, pled no contest to tampering with evidence and was sentenced to a month in jail and 5 years probation.
It's hard to equate it with the feeling. A lot of people ask us if there's any sense of closure, and just given the age at the time, 25 years, it's going to be reviewed. As a family, we're going to have to endure what possibly could come up again.
I think one of the most special moments that I had with her was the weekend before. Sorry, hold on. The weekend before she passed away, we were down in Orlando at one of her cheer competitions, and all her friends were there. She chose to be with me instead of her friends. She was like, "Mom, let's just go to Disney. Let's just, the two of us." And we did, and we had the best day ever. And I will forever be grateful for those memories with her.
The family of Tristan Bailey has worked tirelessly to bring some light into the world since the tragedy of their daughter's death. In 2023, they created the Tristan Bailey Foundation, which focuses on 4 pillars of good acts: character development, victim advocacy, self-defense and self-confidence, and education on the dangers of social media. In fact, their Angel Family Night unites parents who have lost children, and they aim to expand this event to ballparks nationwide, helping people from all different walks of life connect with each other, just as Tristan did in her own life. Now, sometimes law enforcement encounters a suspect so charismatic, so seemingly calm and cool and composed during questioning that honestly, it's kind of hard to imagine them committing such a horrific crime.
She said that she knows who the father was, but she ain't saying.
She did know?
Yeah, she knows who the father of her child was. And she just, but then you can't really take anything that she's saying serious, because now that she's been gone, I question literally everything.
December 27th, 2018, Jacksonville, Florida. About a week after 16-year-old Ayanna Sawyer, or IS, disappeared. It's especially concerning because she's pregnant. Police have brought in her uncle Jonathan Quilez for an interview. They press him about the laptop entries his niece wrote that indicate she had sexual relations with someone named Jose, who's suspected to be Quilez. He denies any inappropriate contact and has even provided his DNA to police.
So Ayanna was John's niece by marriage. He was Uncle John to Ayanna and to the other siblings as well. They were very close. His wife and him both took care of the kids on a regular basis. They would spend time at their house. John, really charismatic guy. He's very likable. He was a mechanic, he was a handyman. He had a good family life, was working, doing well, married, had a kid, another one on the way at the time.
You guys took my DNA at the house. I don't have nothing to hide. You are looking at the wrong person. I have nothing to do with that girl disappearing whatsoever.
They don't arrest him that day. They detain him, they talk to him, but then they release him.
However, Quilez has raised enough suspicions that a few days later, police turned the investigation over to homicide detective Bill Abbott, who immediately processes the DNA Quilez provided.
It was submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement here, and a rush was put onto it because what we had learned was that a sexual assault kit involving IS had been submitted back in March of 2018, and there was unknown DNA.
The results showed DNA from neighbor Kamar Humphrey, which was expected since he and Ayanna had had a relationship. But the unknown DNA was additional. Could it be her Uncle John's?
Well, on January 7th, 2019, a shock came. Jonathan Quilez' DNA was on IS's panties. Complete, utter shock. It only heightened that Jonathan Quilez was definitely a person of interest. Then a bombshell hit. A phone call comes in to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. That individual identified himself as Joseph Quilez, Jonathan Quilez's brother. And oh boy, did he have a story to tell. Jonathan Quiles had called his brother. He stated it was either December 19th, 2018 or December 20th, 2018, that his brother was frantic, stating that this girl might be pregnant, it might be mine, and I have to get rid of the body. Joseph Quiles then stated his brother hung up the phone. However, sometime later, he called back, calmer, not upset, not nervous, said he had taken care of it.
When Joseph asks his brother to explain, Quiles reportedly gets surprisingly specific.
Jonathan Quiles tells his brother that he lured her to his work in an area where no video surveillance, no other workers, it's loud, and he went to strangle her, but he couldn't stomach it, so he shot her. He then put her body in a dumpster, and then it's done. He now can move on, and his life won't be ruined.
His brother was like, I don't believe my brother did this, but it made me feel very uneasy that if I didn't call and report it and something had happened, that it would haunt him.
Armed with this shocking new information, Detective Abbott and a colleague from Special Assault bring Quiles back in for another interview.
How are you?
How you doing? I've had better days.
I know, right?
Yeah.
There's been a lot happened. We need to talk about, okay?
At this time, Detective Billy Abbott has spoken to Joseph Quiles, and now he is looking at this closer to a homicide investigation.
The girls would come over to your house and you do like trips to the beach.
Yeah,
trips to the
we always when to go with the pool we had
babysitting.
the pool we had at the house.
They would stay the night. They'd spend
Yeah,
time
they'll
at your
spend
house. And there was
the whole
anybody-
summer.
So you're doing all these things with the girls,
No, with all of them.
right? With the
All
kids.
yeah, all of the kids.
But,
Yeah,
but then they're accusing you of messing with the girls.
correct. Yeah, and this is they came out with that they started like real heavy with it when went with that boy across the street and doing all that. That's when it started like really thick.
Jonathan Quiles was trying to do anything and everything to show how it was not him, that it could be this other individual, or she might have had another boyfriend in her life.
So now is missing. She ran away or whatnot. Now here I am sitting in the hot seat because is mentioning me as that I was I'm Mr. Jose.
Okay.
So
Do you know who she ran away with?
I don't. I've been expecting call me, text me, anything, Snapchat me, smoke signal.
Quiles painted himself as the victim himself. He's being unfairly tarnished by this belief he had an inappropriate relationship with his niece.
So if I were to tell you that I found some underwear that had your DNA in it, how would you explain that?
I would say that is not, that there's no way in shape in any form. Yeah, there's no way.
So with the case across the street, there was a kit done,
Correct.
and she was wearing specific clothes to include underwear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she told me that was one of her biggest pet peeves, that they took her underwear from her.
Okay, so that's what he's talking
That's
about.
what I was referring to.
That wasn't my DNA. That I didn't.
100%.
No way.
It's DNA. Yeah.
I'm not saying you're a monster. I don't think you're a monster at all. Okay? I think maybe they came on to you and things went a little too far. It happens all the time.
What exactly are they accusing me of? What exactly are they saying I did? Okay, well, now they're making suggestions that I'm having the sexual relationship or that I had something to do with her going missing, and I absolutely did not.
Look at her face.
I could look at her face.
They need closure.
I'm not a monster. I had nothing to do with her disappearance. I had nothing to do with her disappearance at all.
So the whole family's off. So is a liar. Your brother who loves you is just crazy, right? Everyone's just circling Jonathan.
The last I spoke with my brother, he was all bent out of shape. And I'm like, hold on, bro. You got this all twisted. I didn't do nothing. I have no idea what the hell happened with this young lady, any of that. So,
And how did he have all those details?
I don't know how he had all those details. I'm sorry. I don't know how he had any of those details.
And he said he didn't believe you at first. He thought you were kidding. But it was so detailed.
No. I'm sorry. Nope.
He really is just kind of like, you know what, there's nothing I can do at this point. You've already made up your minds. You haven't looked anywhere else. I'm not the person, but you're convinced that I am.
So, Jonathan, is there anything else you'd like to say?
There's nothing else I'd like to say.
Okay. Then at this point, I'm going to place you under arrest for sexual battery. It's a first-degree felony. So if you'll stand up and turn around and face the wall, place your hands behind your back.
Now, Jonathan Quiles is the #1 suspect in the disappearance of IS and now the murder of IS and her unborn child.
After the interview, Detective Abbott decides to plant a wire on one of the inmates who's been talking to Quiles behind bars.
You been praying, bro? Huh? You been praying? I haven't stopped praying. I've been praying this whole time. You have to forgive me? I can forgive you.
Soon, the detective's plan seems to pay off.
You did good by doing it, getting rid of the body and all that. Why were they pointing fingers at you? Because of my brother. So why did you kill her? If you didn't think she was gonna jail, or you just felt like it was gonna hit the fan and later on.
Yeah, she was 16 when she came out that she was pregnant. There's a possibility that was mine.
When you saw that, wherever the...
It was over at the job. It was loud over there.
Oh, you shot at the job and left there overnight?
It was loud at the job over there.
This girl would have jumped out, screamed anything. So what about the cameras?
The camera system. It's like everything is blurry, nothing is focused. And that's the thing, the cameras do work, but they suspect. You know, in A speaker part, there's so many spots you could throw shit over the gate.
I guess by you killing her, you did the right thing, dog, because you probably be in a worse situation than she was living.
The challenge with jailhouse snitches is that you could have some doubts. Well, he's just bragging in prison because he wants to have some street cred there. But his words are his words. And when you compare that to his own brother's comments, now the evidence is really starting to pile up.
Investigators piece together what happened next from the wiretap recording.
She got shot.
Got rid of the weapon?
He said, he was registered to me over at the house.
You took the gun off and everything?
Went to the gun range the same day.
Police end up finding his signature on the sign-in sheet at the range and the gun in his closet.
He went to the gun range and shot the gun. The only thing I can think of about that statement is maybe he thought some forensic evidence could show that the gun had been recently shot.
If that was Quiles's plan, it seems like it worked.
There's no blood evidence, there's no DNA, there's nothing on your gun. And it's alleged that he shot her at close range, like in the heart even. The physical evidence didn't line up with what we were expecting to see.
We met with the grand jury today on your case as well as several others, and you are being indicted on first-degree murder. The third count is going to be sexual battery. Okay? We need to advise you of that.
Okay.
All right. We would like to talk to you if you're willing to speak with us.
I have an attorney that's representing me, but she doesn't want me to talk to nobody without her being present.
During his trial, in addition to his brother testifying, the wiretap recordings, testimony of the jailhouse informant, and testimony of Jonathan's ex-wife, the prosecution also presents the Snapchat messages that Jonathan Quiles sent Ayanna in the months leading up to her death.
So what are we looking at in State 64?
These are the messages from Snapchat.
The Snapchats from Jonathan Quiles in the months leading up to Ayanna's disappearance were sometimes sexually explicit and even seemingly threatening.
9/4/2018, 9/27. I'm very aggravated right now. I'm going to hit you later. 9/7/2018, 12/21. Yeah, so I need you to be like 100% with me at all times. I'm just so in love with you, I'll kill you and cry.
Jonathan Quilles is convicted of sexual battery and 2 counts of first-degree murder and is ultimately sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Occasionally, a suspect presents one face during an initial interview. Calm, collected, even cooperative, only to reveal a completely different side in a later interrogation. Our final case is a haunting example of just how unsettling that transformation can be.
It's going to be a missing person. Lauren Giddings.
June 30th, 2011. Macon, Georgia. Law school graduate Lauren Giddings has gone missing, and police are interviewing her neighbor and fellow law student, Stephen McDaniel.
With me is her next door neighbor who lives in apartment 4. Can I get your last name?
McDaniel. Stephen McDaniel.
When was the last time you think you seen Lauren?
It was either last week or the week before that. I was coming back from bar prep and I was driving back and I saw her going out to run.
Is there anything that you could tell me today or add to your statement that could help me locate Lauren?
I can't think of anything. I mean, we looked around to see if there was a note or if there was anything, but there was just nothing that we could find to try and figure out where she was.
However, McDaniel soon goes from just a potential source of information to a person of interest.
He was arrested and charged with burglary because during the initial investigation, he talked about going into other people's apartments and had taken some things like condoms. That gave him a reason to hold on to him and do further investigations.
Investigators believe Stephen McDaniel may be connected to the disappearance of his neighbor Lauren Giddings, but when authorities bring McDaniel back in for more questioning, he acts like a completely different person.
I need to know about this girl right here. You know her?
Yes.
Does she live next door to you?
Yes.
When's the last time you seen her?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
One word answers, dazed, confused, sort of flipping that switch from being, very wordy, very animated, very upbeat in his answers to being kind of catatonic.
Just tell me what happened, brother.
I don't know.
Do you even care that no one can find her?
Yes.
Earlier today, me and you sit here and talk normal. What's going on with you now? Why are you acting like this?
I don't understand.
I was talking to people that he works with and everything. They talk about how he's very talkative. Stephen, they say you're so talkative, buddy, that you're always so friendly. You stop in and say hello and you talk. Why is it that everything that we get from you is yes, no, or I don't know?
I don't know.
I think they began to zero in on Stephen, one, because of the interview that was conducted, and two, initially he would not allow a search of his apartment.
When you say, I don't know, it casts another cloud over you, and it's raining all over you. How can you remember a statute, and you can't remember what you did 2 days ago?
I think someone took her.
How do you think somebody would take her? If somebody did take her?
When she was running.
You're acting like you don't know what's going on. Why are you shutting down? Why are you not talking to me?
I don't know.
As investigators speak with McDaniel, they start to get a sense of his odd life.
What, do you just stay in the house all day?
Yes.
I mean, what do you do all day in the house?
Play video games.
By yourself?
Yes.
He was more of a recluse, kind of a loner, quiet individual.
You told me about how you like to look at porn on the internet. You expressed to me that you're a virgin, correct?
Yes.
What happened to Lauren?
I don't know.
You like her, don't you?
She's my friend.
Did you ever think about having sex with her?
No.
There is reporting that he had actually asked her out, but she has a boyfriend and she was trying to be kind and just kind of said, I just want to be friends. Let's just stay friends.
You mean to tell me you look at porn on the internet and get off to that, but you never looked at her and said, man, I wonder what it'd be like to have sex with her?
No.
But let's shift away from McDaniel. Investigators eventually find something that changes the course of this whole case. And what they find is right outside the apartment complex.
While we were outside, myself and some of the other investigators kept noticing just kind of a foul odor. One of our investigators opened the trash can. Of course, it really got strong. He felt the bag down in the trash can. That's when he discovered what was a human torso.
We responded to a missing person call. It was turned over to detectives. They discovered a dead body. The body was dismembered. We got the DNA results back. It was a missing person.
My first thought was that's somebody's daughter that is no longer with us. And it kind of breaks your heart to realize it.
Detectives confront Stephen McDaniel about the discovery of the remains of Lauren Giddings in the dumpster of their apartment complex.
You know there was a body found in the trash can next to the apartments.
Yes.
Who would do something to somebody and throw them in a trash can?
I don't know.
This is probably a community dumpster, and it's probably taken out once or twice a week. And I think maybe the person ran out of time, put this in that trash, and figured it would be taken out before anyone would notice.
Who do you think it points to?
I don't know.
If a complete stranger is going to come to her apartment and kill her, they're not going to take time to dismember her and throw her in the trash can.
And authorities focus on his apartment.
We found several weapons to be bladed weapons, firearms at Stephen McDaniel's apartment.
How many guns did you have in your apartment?
3.
Then you had that samurai sword?
Yes.
Did you have any other knives in the house?
Yes.
What do you need all these weapons for?
To have.
Why? There's a reason why. Were you molested as a child?
No.
Why would you not be honest with me?
I am being honest.
Stephen, it just doesn't feel like it, buddy.
What do I need to tell her family?
I don't know.
That's what you want me to tell her mother and her father, is that you don't know.
I don't know.
And suspicious circumstantial evidence begins to build around him.
You smell like you've been cleaning up, like you've been using cleaner to clean up. You've been using some kind of cleaner to clean up your apartment, hadn't you?
No.
He did have a scratch on his chest right below his sternum that night that he told me was a spider bite. Well, it didn't look like a spider bite to me.
With law enforcement not getting very far with McDaniel, that's when they decide to turn things up.
But now you're gonna get out here and you don't know. You know. You're just a sorry piece of that don't give a right?
No.
His interrogation didn't really have much of a good cop, bad cop situation. They came in hot. They came in pretty strong for him.
Where's that little girl, Stephen?
I don't know.
Stephen, you know. Where?
I don't know.
Stephen. You're gonna look at this right here, this little girl right here, and you're gonna say you don't know? I know you know.
I don't.
You went into her apartment, Stephen. And you hurt that girl.
No, I didn't.
You did, buddy. Why won't you tell me, Stephen?
I didn't do it.
I'm gonna take this with me. You don't deserve to look at it. I appreciate all your cooperation tonight, okay?
Okay.
Detectives believe McDaniel killed Lauren, but he's not giving in at all. He may be acting strange, but do authorities have enough to prove he committed a murder?
One of the things that Mr. McDaniel was always wanting to talk to people about was committing the perfect murder. He would ask that question to people, and then he would stop them and tell them, say, no, you're wrong, let me tell you why. And then he would go into his idea of a perfect murder.
You know what he said? He said he's a crazy That's your own family calling you crazy.
And that's when the evidence stacks up against the suspected killer.
The GBI had found a video that he had taken of surveilling her apartment, looking in the window.
He'd jerry-rig a camera on a pole and, record. He was stalking her We know that he probably had some kind of an obsession with her.
You used to watch her come in and out of her apartment, didn't you?
No.
Didn't you just tell me that y'all were friends?
Yes.
But you didn't pay attention when she came in and out?
No.
Steven, you're lying. Now you're lying.
We found a pair of her underwear in his apartment that did have DNA on it. That was her DNA.
Today you told an investigator that you were worried about us possibly finding blood in your apartment. Now why would you be worried about that?
We all looked in Lauren's apartment.
Did you see blood?
No.
Luminol was sprayed on the walls and in the bathtub of all the apartments.
When you spray this chemical, if there's any trace of blood, it picks up on it, gives a glow. Her apartment, the bathroom, kind of lit up like a Christmas tree.
You know that blood was there, and that's why you're worried about it.
No.
A hacksaw was found in the maintenance shed. It is locked off with a key that we later found in Stephen McDaniel's apartment. That hacksaw that we found did have Lauren's DNA, blood, and tissue on that. We also found like a packaging where it was bought, and we found receipts where it was bought from Walmart. It was the same package in Stephen McDaniel's apartment.
We know what you did to her.
I didn't do anything.
Well, that's what you say. But we know different. So, you either way. There'll be no more video games. This is the end.
I didn't do anything.
We know you killed her. We know you put her body in the trash can. So you can sit there with that dumb look on your face. But it's over.
I didn't do anything.
Too much evidence. Too much evidence. You're not gonna win.
Stephen McDaniel is officially charged with the murder of Lauren Giddings. But McDaniel's criminal case didn't last long. He ended up pleading guilty to murdering Lauren Giddings. McDaniel also wrote out a detailed confession explaining how he snuck into Lauren's apartment in the early morning hours of June 26, 2011, watched her as she slept, and when she awoke, he strangled her to death and then proceeded to dismember her later that day.
He did admit to cutting off her fingers and flushing them down the toilet because she had scratched him that night.
He said the rest of her body parts he had thrown in trash dumpsters around that area.
Stephen McDaniel is sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 2041.
Thought you were smarter than everybody. But you up. Somebody always leaves something at a crime scene. You up.
From just these cases alone, it's clear that police interrogations are packed with twists, turns, and dramatic moments that can completely alter the direction of an investigation. That's all we have for you right now here on Prime Crime. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on this special episode. I'm Jesse Weber. Until next time, stay safe.